friends, we're starting a new series. You guys will see this whenever I end up finishing these books this year, but I'm trying to whittle down my physical TBR. So I've picked 5 books that have been my physical TBR for like the longest time. I think pre-COVID, some of these have been on my TBR. The Song of Achilles came into my possession recently, but it has been on my digital TBR for a very long time. So we're gonna try and go through these. I've got The Wife and the Widow, The Tattooist of Auschwitz, The Handmaid's Tale, Circe, and Song of Achilles. Now, obviously these 2 have been very popular for a very, very long time. They have been on countless yearly wrap-ups of people loving them, and I just keep not picking them up, so they're gonna go on there. The Handmaid's Tale, obviously this is a classic. I do really want to read Manacled this year, and as much as I know the rough synopsis of this book and the TV show, I don't know enough about it, so I think I want to read this before I read Manacled, even though you don't have to. The Tattooist of Auschwitz, I don't know if I'm going to read this. We will see. I'm going to read some reviews because I think I remember her being quite a problematic author, but I do love a World War II novel. So we will see how we go. And then The Wife and the Widow. This is an Australian novel, I believe. I actually have the audiobook, so I think I'm going to pick this one up first and give this a listen because I'm a little bit in my thriller era at the moment. So let's see how we go. Okay, so I literally just sat down to eat my lunch and I was like, okay, let me just do a little bit of research on TikTok. I was like, let me just go on TikTok, see what anyone's saying, because there's a lot of people that speak really eloquently on TikTok, much better than I ever could. So I'm gonna link the video down below, but there is a creator named Anna on the app, and she talks about this and how there's a really bad, like, the writing style isn't great, the dialogue's a bit strange, but most importantly that there is a lot of historical inaccuracies, and they have, like, the camp, like the Auschwitz camp, have actually called this a really disrespectful to the memory of what happened and the tragic things that occurred. This is based off a true story, so the fact that there is inaccuracies, even like there's like small details that occur that are inaccurate, and I understand like it's fiction, things are done to sort of dramatize it. I don't think you should be dramatizing such a historic and such a tragic moment in history. So this is coming straight off the TBR. One of the smallest things that they do that's wrong is that the number that the tattooist tattoos on his wife is wrong. So like, it seems kind of sloppy, seems kind of lazy. So that's coming straight off the TBR, and I'm putting Big Little Lies in instead. Obviously this is a very popular TV show. Another Australian author. Everyone and their dog has read this book. I have not. So I'm gonna read this and see what I think. Again, this is kind of thriller-esque. So this is going into the rotation. I'll pick this up probably right after I read The Wife and the Widow. So that's a decision that I made. So I basically just started cleaning the house, so I'm listening to The Wife and the Widow. I have a couple of theories. I look like shit, so just ignore that. But I have a couple of theories. I'm not 100% sure. I think the guy is living a double life, but I feel like that could be wrong. But at this point, I have no idea what to expect. I am only like 50 pages in or something, so I will update you when I make more progress. But my current theory is double life. Let's see what happens. I'm a bit further. I think my theory was wrong. I don't really know how to feel. I'm just gonna keep going with the flow. 2.5 hours into the audiobook. Let's see what happens. It is literally like 10 minutes later. I'm already this far into it. I've worked it out. I think I'm right. And if I'm right, then this is not a great book. If I'm wrong, then this is a great book. But I think I've worked it out. Obviously no spoilers, but I think I've worked it out. Okay, I'm almost finished. I had a second theory. I had 2 theories. My first theory that I told you guys about is wrong. My second theory is correct. I've worked it out. I've worked it out an hour from the end, I think. Well, that's finished. I was shocked. There were certain things that I was like, okay, this person's involved, this person's involved. Once I worked out about who the killer was this is really hard to explain without giving spoilers, but once I worked out who the killer was, the twist didn't shock me. It didn't surprise me. I'm like, this is what happened. Like, this makes total sense. Was it good? Was I like, enjoying it? I didn't want to stop, definitely. I think I'm probably gonna give it a 4 stars. Like, I probably enjoy this the same amount as I did with Never Lie. For me, The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose, and I know a lot of people don't like it, I loved it. That's my 5-star thriller. Nothing has really shocked me in the same way that did. Now, I don't know, I don't read a lot of thrillers, but maybe I'm like reading enough now that I really can expect the twists, but I still enjoyed this. Definitely like one I would recommend to people. Like it's a solid 4 stars. It can be a little bit hard to follow. This is probably gonna be the next book that I pick up next week. So stay tuned for next week and I'll update you guys when I read this. So I didn't vlog it, but I ended up reading Big Little Lies and I was entirely enthralled. I think I ended up giving this like a 3 stars or 3.5. I wasn't completely blown away by this book. I think because I'd seen way too many clips on TikTok that I just kind of knew what was coming. I definitely think this is a great beginner book for reading because it's easily accessible, it's a good read, it's addictive, you're really like wanting to know what's happening. I really enjoyed it. It is interesting that it's set in Australia, which is sometimes just like a bit of a throw for me when I'm reading a book, but really enjoyed it. 3 to 3.5 stars. I would recommend this to basically anybody, but particularly a beginner romance, a beginner reader. Definitely not a romance book. This is like a domestic chick lit thriller, that kind of vibes. It's very liked for a reason. I think it's very well done. As long as you haven't been spoiled by the TV show, this is a great read. If you've watched the TV show, you can probably give this a skip. So let's get going with The Handmaid's Tale. I'm very nervous. I think I'm gonna be a bit sad. It is a nice short one because I'm currently in the middle of another audiobook that you would have seen in my normal vlogs. So let's go with this, see how we go. So I am like 3.5 hours into this and I think I'm gonna DNF it. I understand what is trying to be told, I get it. Do I need to subject myself to the unnecessary pain? It is gross, it is borderline, like really, it's a lot. Do I think this is essential reading? Probably not. I think it just hits way too close to being a reality. I can't do it. It hurts to read, so I'm not gonna continue. But if you wanna read it, like totally. Like it's definitely for some people, it's just not really for me personally. We're at my next book on my really long TBR. We're gonna be doing 2 books by the same author coming up. They're very viral, very popular books, very emotional too, but we're going to start The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This, I believe, is an romance. Like it's a retelling, obviously, of Troy and Achilles, I believe, or Patroclus and Achilles. I don't know. It is not a very long book, so I'm probably going to sit here and try and finish this. I'm excited. This is in my TBR for way too long, so let's hope that I love it. Chapter 13. 131 pages of the way through this. I was getting really, I guess, bored because there was not a lot happening and I was like, can we like move it along? It's very much a story of like their friendship developing in that first sort of third. It's still like a good book. It's ramping up now. Was I gonna DNF it? Absolutely. I was like, oh. Obviously I know that this is a story about queerness and that's the whole point, but I was just kind of like, I'm sick of just them doing like fight training. I was like, can we move it along? There wasn't a lot happening with their friendship at the point, and I was like, can we like start moving? But it has definitely picked up now. There is gonna be a lot of carnage, I think, in the second 2/3. It's gonna be painful, I think, in the next bit. If you don't like being like stuck in one person's head when they're very much like constantly in pain and in constant turmoil, then maybe don't pick it up, but I think it's going to get better. So that's my first third update. Okay, I'm coming to you from a really weird spot, but there's really good lighting in here at the moment. So I'm up to chapter 25, Song of Achilles, and feel like a silent review. I don't get it. It's still wartimey. There's still not a lot of action. It is very just war focused. Maybe it's just not for me, but I am gonna finish it because I really don't have a lot left, but I'm not blown away. I wanted more romance. It's very much just war and more war and more war. I'm like, I want the beautiful words, beautiful professions of love. So I never wrapped up Song of Achilles. I ended up giving this 2.5 stars. It did nothing for me. It was okay. I know that there was some like really beautiful elements, but this is really mismarketed. This is not a romance book. This is a historical fiction book with sprinklings of romance. It's very much focused on war and the story of what happens. There is great queer representation, which is always obviously appreciate it, but this book isn't written for me. This is definitely written for the queer community, and that's okay. Do I objectively think this is a bad book? Absolutely not. I think I just went into this book with the wrong perception of this book and was sort of let down. And I also don't think that Madeline Miller's writing is for me. When I talk about Circe, you'll understand, but I don't think that Madeline Miller's writing is for me. Yeah, friends, I've only really just gotten out of bed. It's Sunday morning. I've got things to do, but I'm gonna start. It's dark in here, so mind that. I'll lift in the blinds. Anyway, I need to start the next book in my TBR series. I couldn't even speak. This writing is astronomically tiny. I am not going to read this. I'm going to listen to this. So I'm just so used to my Kindle now, and I have my Kindle in like a really big font size, and I love it. So reading something this small ain't gonna happen. So I'm gonna go listen to this, and we'll update you guys later on. As for Circe, I think I made it maybe a third of the way through and I DNF'd it. This is when I went, Madeline Miller's writing is not for me. This, I know, is like one of the greatest feminist novels of our time, but I could not keep going. The way that Madeline Miller writes, it's very much telling instead of showing, and you're kind of just like feeling like, I feel like I'm listening to like a monologue for some boring play that I had to watch during high school. It genuinely is not, it's not a bad book, but for me, it just does nothing. I think there are better books out there probably that touch on feminist topics, but yeah, for me, it's her writing style, and reading this and starting this made me realize that it is her writing style, not necessarily the subject matter, because I love a historical fiction. I love Greek mythology. I love World War II novels. I love historical fiction, whether it's with or without romance. That's not the issue. It's the way that she writes. It doesn't connect with me. It creates a barrier between you and the main subject of the book, because you're not really connecting with the characters and what their struggles are and what they're going through and what the story is trying to convey. So, but yeah, that is the end of this video. There will be a part 2 coming in the coming months as I start to get through more of these books. But this round was very much a mixed bag of reactions. We had 2 DNFs. One book that I really enjoyed, one book that was subpar, and one book that was like mediocre, and then we had a book that I just threw in the bin. Well, I didn't throw it in the bin, but you know what I mean. I just threw it off the TBR before I even got to it. I don't know what that says, but comment below what book has been on your TBR for the longest and how long it has been on your TBR. Please like and subscribe, because I am really enjoying vlogging again. I am trying to get better at this, and I'm going to be more consistent. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next reading vlog. Bye guys.